Hi there. So I have been processing something. It's deep, it's big. I don't know if I can even name it. And the beginning of it was like the videos that I posted earlier in the week, or whenever it was last week or whatever. The last videos that I posted, like maybe the last 2 or 3, it was starting to come up, and I thought, oh, this must be it. And I processed something in one of those videos, thinking that was it, but that wasn't the end of it. That was like the beginning of it. I'm still in it, so I can't really see it clearly yet, but yeah, it's just it. Processing a thing. Don't know what it is. I know that I've uncovered various aspects of it. I can't even remember most of them, but like maybe the one that I mentioned in that video, whatever that was, I really don't even know. And today I was processing some stuff around injustice and actually realizing that some things that I had been telling myself were unjust in my life were actually just. And that was like, whoa. Yeah, like I was brought to this realization about how I lived out the consequences of my decisions, and that is just. Sorry, I got a glance at my bookcase, my bookshelf. I don't know, do you call it? It's built into the wall, so is it still called a bookcase? Yeah, it's a bookcase. Anyway, I just added a bunch of books to it, so I was just getting a glance at it and how good it looks over there. I like it. Just like more full, you know? Anyway, yeah, I was realizing that like something that I had been telling my story about how it was an unjust thing that happened, and actually I realized that it's a just thing that happened. It's just, meaning, it was based on a decision I made, and now I've been living out the consequences of the decision I made. That's just. That's justice. And for me to like continuously tell the story that it wasn't fair just because I felt like there was no other choice, right? When I made that decision, it was a decision. I did make the decision. It seemed like the only choice for me at the time, given the mindset that I was in, the perspectives that I had, the level of veiling that the traumas were doing to me, And the fact that I had no self-confidence and didn't believe in myself and all that weighed in on that decision. So it didn't feel like I could make any other decision. I felt like I'd make the only decision I could. But it's true that it was a decision, and it's true that we live out the consequences of our decisions, and that is justice. It's a just world because we live out the consequences of our decisions. And I had to like adjust, within myself, and like really be humbled a little bit more on the fact that like even just this morning, like this is a very old thing from over 20 years ago. Circumstances today brought it up into my awareness, and it was this, just like spirit does, just like the universe does, it was this way that I didn't really see it coming, and then only in retrospect could I see how it was all this nicely packaged, perfectly sensical loop of energy that was playing out. And that loop of energy was based on the fact that I was telling myself the story of injustice. And it was a story that I told so long that I often relived the feeling of injustice in that other relationships that I had in my life would make me feel like there was injustice because I got betrayed, and I felt like I was led into that by spirit. So, it felt like injustice to be betrayed, or, things like that. But it's actually more true. It's true that I made the decisions to be in those relationships. I made the decisions that led me to the places where I was betrayed and how I handled that and, everything like that. So I'm living the consequences of my decisions, right? And that's justice. So those are like, hard pills to swallow, but I swallowed them. Like, I don't feel resentful, I processed that. But then I was like, okay, is there anything else? I got my cards out. And I was like, yeah, just more. Like, oh, I don't know what else then. Maybe I'm getting a break right now, to just like let myself integrate what I just uncovered today, because that was a big one. Something I've been carrying for more than 20 years, maybe like 22, maybe more, 27. Wow. Yeah. So, maybe I'm just integrating that, but also I was kind of told, like, I could, I could just kind of go inward and, meditate a bit. And then we lost power here. So with no power, no internet, I did get the opportunity to first be out in nature, get my feet on the earth, and then also get quiet with myself. I did start doing some work. I couldn't help it. So, I noticed that's a little bit of a distractive thing that I was doing. Like, I could be with myself to a certain level, but then I was like, oh, but there's some work here I could do. Anyway, I think it's a good thing that I'm going through this. Like, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying and I'm sharing because, you're probably going through some stuff too. You're probably shedding some stuff too because we've got to shed right now. That's what's happening. If you're not shedding, you're probably feeling very uncomfortable, you know? If we are in resistance or denial of anything right now, it hurts. It hurts, man. And it probably hurts in the chakra that is, most affected. So it's worthwhile to have these skills of processing. And yeah. So let's see. Ooh, yawn. Should we do a little reading? Let's do it. Let's do a reading with this essence deck. First card, the main point. Yes, I am using a digitized version of my own deck that I made. And the main point, there isn't a main point to this reading. There's a supporting energy of celebration, happily ever after, love story, family, abundance, admirers, home, charm. Okay? The challenge is the mystery. That there's something unknown, that there are secrets, that you haven't discovered something yet, that you may need to be a detective a bit. There's something hiding, or there may be a need to do some studying, read a book. The wisdom gained. The Joker card, the smoker and the midnight toker. Interesting. To balance out a union, lovers, partnership, soulmates. And the outside influence, marriage, divine union, balance. Okay. Um, I need some additional information. Tell me more about this. I'm going to use my astrology deck. There's a friendship, and you may be lying to yourself about something and feeling the pressure to come out with the truth of love. There's meant to be balance in a situation, and I feel like it's like doesn't make logical sense. Maybe you got to realize the truth of something when you were smoking, or just when you released resistance, because that's what cannabis can do. It's release the resistance. There's some sort of partnership or happily ever after type situation here with like a brotherly love kind of situation, right? So that's why I'm saying friendship, but like you may be lying to yourself. Like there is a higher meaning, there's a bigger thing here. There's something that's not being said. There's something that hasn't been acknowledged. There's a lot of pressure to do so. Why? Because the truth needs to come out. You're being pressure. I just thought of this poem that I wrote. How am I gonna read that poem? I'm being crushed to release my essence. I'm being squeezed. I don't know. I don't think I have the poem. It was in my memories the other day, so I don't know if I actually screenshotted it. Let me just check. I did not. Alright, so I don't know. I wrote a poem a while ago. It was just about being refined through pressure. And there is a situation that is being refined here that you've been lying to yourself about. Maybe you're lying to others as well. But the pressure to come out with it. The main point is a mystery. Okay? So here's the thing. It's like you're being asked to do something. You've heard the call. You know about this. You've been putting it off, perhaps. Denying, pretending it's not there, whatever. Still, the call, the call, the call, right? And maybe it's like call, call, call. And it's saying like, we're purposely not telling you. Like you're purposely never, ever, ever going to know what's going to happen in response to this answering the call or making the call. Because that is part of the process that you must engage in, is engaging in a non-selfish, meaning you're not attached to the outcome and you're not having expectations. So non-selfish engagement in a process of being authentic and vulnerable towards something where there is a feeling of love, partnership, soulmate, something like this, friendship. This is a higher soul, divine soul connection, okay? So maybe there's places that you generally do lie to yourself and you don't want the truth put in your face, and you feel like this reflection would put it in your face. And so it's like, become the version of yourself who can handle that. Because you're not going to know the outcome. You can't be attached to the outcome. You can't have expectations. The reason that you do this is because you honor yourself. So the call is to honor yourself. It's not like, here's a hoop, jump through it. Here's a hoop, jump through it. Here's a hoop. You know, you're not a circus animal. You're actually being called to honor your own heart, your own impetus, your own soul's calling. It's honoring you. And there's a part of you that hasn't been able to hold the space for that part that needs to be honored. And that part is likely attempting to protect you from something. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. You've probably been hurt in love, and I'm talking even just friendship love. Betrayed. Whatever caused you to have a coping mechanism that says, I'm only going to participate in something I can control. And I know where it's going to challenge me and where it's not, or that it's not going to be challenging at all. And that's the only thing I'm going to allow myself to participate in. And everything else is a no. This is using me right now to deliver this message to you. It feels weird because I kind of feel what this is about. I feel you, I feel the situation. I got a little bit of chills right here, you know. The old me would have wanted to like hold your hand through the process and be like, it's gonna be okay, and reassure you and stuff, but that would never solve this karma. That would never solve this karma. This is asking you to become the version of yourself, which you are already, this version, you just don't know it yet, that can do this, that can handle this, that is brave. Bravery, courage and bravery are something that you're being asked to have, because you're feeling the fear, but you're going to do it anyway. Now, you can give yourself a safety net, right? So that means, are you the version of yourself that can have your back even when this happens? Like, no matter what happens. And for some reason, I'm being reminded of how when I faced heartbreak earlier on, when I would break up with a boyfriend, it was very devastating for me, and I used to have suicidal ideation associated with breakups. I didn't know until much later that it was tied to the fact that my father had committed suicide or completed suicide after a breakup, and that I was witness to it. And so it was somehow anchored in me as a repeating pattern. So, thankfully that has been solved, but before it was solved, I used to really dread breakups, and it was something that I didn't know how to handle because it felt so empty and out of control and just in too much pain. And yet at the same time, I was desperate for love, so I would still risk it. So I didn't completely shut my heart down, I just kept trying, and then I would just like put blinders on and say, this must be the one, this has to be the one, and like, you know, ignore a bunch of bullshit that I shouldn't be ignoring in order to try to make it work with that one, just so I didn't have to face the breakup. It was a really ridiculous way of coping, but that's what I was doing. But what I found to help me through the process of becoming the version of myself who could handle breakups and who could handle heartbreak was this video by Teal Swan, How to Heal from Heartbreak. And on more than one occasion, when I was feeling the heartbreak, I would go back to that video over years' time. And she has pointers, you know? And when you're lost in that kind of feeling of overwhelm and pain and emptiness, having someone anchored in a plan can really help. So if you don't have a plan for yourself already written down that you can turn to, or well practiced that you are comfortable with, then something like that, like looking outside of yourself for an anchor, but you are looking to become the version of yourself. So the anchor is just like a guidepost. It's like a lighthouse, So you're still doing the work for yourself. It's just like that she's reminding you of what to do. If you turn to a video like that, or whatever it may be for you, a book. There was needing to read a book here too, as well, right? So there's maybe some more skills that you could learn that could help you prepare for all outcomes, all possible outcomes, because we have a mystery outcome here. The thing is that you're being asked to answer the call, to follow the impetus, to follow your heart. It's like when we apologize to somebody. It's like we don't apologize only if they're going to forgive us and let us back into their lives. Apologies come from a real want to make amends, which is not dependent on the outcome, right? We go with our apology, we express what we have to express, which is maybe a sadness over what happened, a regret, a reassurance that we would never want to repeat that, sharing that we learned something from the situation, why we think it happened, why it won't happen again, but also respecting that the other person doesn't have to, take us back into their lives, but we still want to give them that anyway, right? We want to give them peace. We want to give them the reassurance that we don't think they're a piece of garbage, and that's not why we acted that way. That we were whatever was going on, and that we've learned something from it, and we've learned that it was regretful to treat them that way, or harm them, or hurt them in that way. Whatever it may be, but like a real apology comes from a place that doesn't depend on an outcome, Like we're not doing it only if they accept us back. And then if they'd never accept us back, then they don't get our apology. That's not really how real apologies work. Energetically, Okay, so, I started this video by talking about how I'm working through something, and it has had many layers, and I thought it was all done, but it wasn't, and I thought I was good, but I'm not, and like that there's still more to unfold, and it's just taking time, and it's like sloughing off layers, and then I get a little rest, and I feel like you got to give yourself some kind of space to process, right? And I talked about how I was going to be comforted by being in the truth, like that where we're not willing to see ourselves and where we're not willing to be in truth, it's going to get uncomfortable. I was saying that before we got into this reading. So I want to say that that's part of this, right? It's like this has probably been becoming more and more uncomfortable. And I did also talk about the consequences of our decisions. So, maybe it is about, like, if you have this call to make a call, is what we're hearing, then that's a decision that you make or you don't make. So if you've had the experience of making the decision to not follow the calling, you already know what that's like. So if you're being faced with that calling again, like the opportunity again, like I feel like those are the things that it's like, that's what retrogrades are about, okay? So sometimes in life, especially during retrogrades, but we can all have like a retrograde period or planet or experience at any time, but retrogrades are just a new chance to make another decision about an old thing. So you may be experiencing a retrograde period if you're being faced with the same thing, right? And so I would say that sometimes some of the decisions that we have to make are so much part of our soul's calling, so much part of being chosen path that we have signed up for, that it will be represented until we make the choice, until we become the version of ourselves that can make the choice, the decision that we intended to make eventually, you know? So I think that there are definitely some decisions that we are faced with that come up again and again until we are able to make the decision that our soul intended to make. And those are some of the things that we might consider like clearing karmic debt, clearing karmic patterns. Okay, so interesting. Let's see. Is there anything else here? Oh, interesting. I do have the relationships deck here I can just pull from, because this is obviously talking about a relationship with somebody else. So let's see. So weird. Oh, there they are. It was taking. Okay, so here's something. It was taking a minute for the cards to appear on this digital format that I have. And I want to say, like, say you text or something, it might take a minute for a reply to appear, right? Or it might take a minute for your message to go through. So, I don't know, that's part of this message, I guess. It says, add this, forgiveness. Accept how you feel first, be with your feeling, then accept how they may feel. Doing well. You have dropped your expectations. It's acknowledging you for that. So I talked about you go in without expectations. You've got that. You know that. It says there's not enough knowing that the answer is within. What would love do? And what's in your best interest? And so when I ask this question, what's in, it says blank's best interest. So it's like, what's in Julie's best interest is what I would ask myself. So put your name there. What's in the best interest? What's in Julie's best interest? And really think about that. What is in your best interest? Is it in your best interest to answer this call at this time? It's part of the reading talked about happily ever after and a friendship and love, you know? So these things don't seem like they're bad things, you know? Maybe there's this inner dialogue, because I talked also in the beginning of this reading, before I started reading, I talked about how I had been telling myself a story that was that I had experienced injustice. And I feel like you may have been telling yourself a story about how things will work out or won't work out, or what it means, or what the purpose of it is, of the calling, or whatever, or of your feelings, or whatever it is that you need to share. It says that you've got too many projections in this situation, too much projections. Projections allow us to see ourselves in another. You are what you see in them. The energy is filtering your view. I talked a little bit about that too, about how the energy had been filtering my view when I was making my decisions, right? And this is saying that's happening to you. You're making a decision based on a projection, meaning what you are putting on that other person is actually in you. So if you have doubts and fears about them being kind or understanding or to even care, look at yourself. Where have you not been kind to yourself? Where have you not cared, within yourself? Where have you not cared to pay attention to this before? Have you not I forgot what the other word was. Just turn it around to yourself and look for where you are the same thing. And know that it is a projection according to this. And then it says you need, and then it says the Fair Relating Reflection deck. And it says book a session with JulieMandyTeller.life. Well, I'm not actually offering sessions at the moment, but in special circumstances I might do them. So you can try it if you really feel strongly and resonate with that. But I don't have like a form set up to take it. You just have to email me, okay? And then give away patience. When those cards didn't come up right away, I just had to be patient and then they came up, right? So I think one of the things that's going to happen when you do this is that you're going to have a space where you are being asked to be patient. And in that space of patience, you're going to see yourself, what your reaction is when there's not an immediate response, how the fears come up and tell you the stories, or what your coping mechanism is. Do you avoid? Do you get drunk? Do you smoke some pot? Like, what is it that you do in those moments where you're unsure? What can you do to help yourself become the version of yourself who is more comfortable than you were before with the unknown, with not knowing? Because you're the same person no matter what happens here, right? Actually, no matter what happens here, you're the enriched version of yourself who has chosen to answer the call, who's made a choice that you felt compelled to make. You know? And I do think that the pressure is building to make the choice, which is why I say that. Because I feel like it's a thing where you'll even trick yourself into doing it. Because we've got Loki here under the pressure. And if you don't know, Loki is a trickster. He's kind of like a messenger. And he's very intelligent, strategist, uses magic. And you might feel like there's outside influences here. Yeah, you do. You might feel like there's outside influences here, like magic. But remember, there's a soul's calling here. That doesn't mean that it's voodoo. And I feel like if there's magic, it's some other party. I think that Loki is telling us there's pressure for you to live up to. Like Thor was thought to be like the favored son or whatever of Odin over Loki. And like there was that pressure for Loki to live up to Thor. And he really couldn't. And I think he didn't realize that he was his own special thing, you know? But I think he probably beat himself up a lot about not living up to that image of Thor. But like, actually, Loki was never meant to be Thor or Thor-like, right? Like, the beauty of Loki is that he's Loki. And so only he could beat himself up over to that, because no one else was expecting him to be anything but who he is. Only he told himself that story, you know? And maybe his brother teased him with it a few times, I'm not sure. I'm saying all this, and I've really only watched a couple of the Thor movies and the Loki series. I feel compelled to read these. I haven't put these back in my deck for a while. I got them a long time ago, months ago now. They've been on this shelf. Oh, I am entrusted with the gifts of God. See, like Loki not knowing that he was the gift. I love Loki. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. Yes, that's what's happening here. That's what's happening here. Let me be still and listen to the truth. The truth wants to come out, and it's going to get painful if you don't let it come out. And who you are is who you're meant to be. There's no other being or way or whatever that you're meant to be except for you. And if it's fumbly and if it doesn't come out how you wanted it to sound, you know, love the part of yourself that thought it needed to sound a certain way and let it be what it is. Because the resistance to what is what hurts. The resistance to what is what hurts. That's why it hurts when we are not in the truth. Resistance to the truth hurts. So let me read the other side of these cards. You can wait, delay, paralyze yourself, or reduce your creativity almost to nothing. But you cannot abolish it. Because it's one with your life force. That's so true of Loki too, right? Like he's so skilled and could do anything to avoid a lot. But he could not abolish who he is. And I just thought of the end of the series in Loki. He tried, but he couldn't. Okay. When a situation has been dedicated wholly to truth, peace is inevitable. That's what this situation, that's what a happily ever after is. It's peace within your soul because you got lined up with the truth. And now, sit quietly and close your eyes. Let's do this together. The light within you is sufficient. I almost have tears when I say that. It alone has power to give the gift of sight to you. Exclude the outer world. And let your thoughts fly to the peace within. They know the way. Let your thoughts fly to the peace within. Your light within is sufficient. It alone has the power to give the gift of sight to you. Exclude the outer world. I just, when I went within, what I heard was like this playful exchange between two people. And I feel like it's like it doesn't have to be serious. Like even though it feels like a serious moment when you're going within and you're like sitting with the vastness and the truth and the light and like, you know, Loki was a trickster. He's playful. Philia is like brotherly love. There is that's one of the hidden influences in this, is this like camaraderie. You got to balance out the truth here. And the relief is that there is love. Love by you for the versions of yourself that didn't know the truth, that acted out of the truth, that were afraid of the truth. I think what you're going to find when you go inward is a devotion towards something other than you, something outside of you. And maybe it's God. Maybe it's your highest self that's not fully embodied yet. Maybe it's another being. Maybe it's a soul contract. The outside influence from this other deck is like balance, sunset. On Facebook tonight, there were like just image after image in these local groups that I'm in of the sunset, and it was a gorgeous sunset tonight. Pinks and blues, and some people saw reds, and it was so beautiful after a storm. There were people that had these pictures of rainbows in the night sunset sky. I mean, amazing stuff. Rainbows is like Rainbow Bridge. That's like Loki's territory, you know? It's like bringing from one way of being to another way of being. The truth sets you free, I just heard. The truth gets you there. The truth. The Rainbow Bridge is the truth. And you don't know what's on the other side. You haven't been there yet. The supportive energy, it's like charm. It says charm, sweet, family, love story, home, admirers, happily ever after, and celebration. You've got charm. Loki has charm. Use it. Use it. You know that's tried and true. And that charm is used for your own well-being, to know that you have a skill, right? Because sometimes you just need to build up your own like self-esteem in order to proceed, to have your bravery and your courage, which is, again, required for this situation. But yeah, it seems like you're being called to communicate a truth to another person, where there is a coming together, a partnership, a divine union, or a divine friendship. It's like a mate on a soul level that has, you know, the situation, right? That has some sort of exchange to have with you, I want to say. And maybe they don't know what it is either. You know, it's not like you're walking into something where everyone else knows the answer except for you. I wouldn't assume that at all. You want to ask that? Let's ask. Let's ask. All right, Spirit. Can you please tell us, you're asking this person to come forward with some sort of truth, which might be an apology, something that has to do with feelings and love and whatever. And we know that you have shown us that the outcome is unknown. We know that. But can you please show us this other person's energy towards the viewer? Show us the other person's energy towards the viewer. Okay. That you may know that this person is sort of fierce. Okay, we got era. I'm going to look up era because I would have just said war, but I'm being compelled to like look it up more. Era. A constellation known as the Altar. An individual who offers astrological guidance and services. Additionally, Era is part of the name for the Era Astrology Mini Deck, a tool for divination and understanding. Era is a constellation in the southern sky located between Scorpius and Triangulum. It's one of the 48 constellations. In Greek mythology, Era represents the altar where the gods swore an oath before battling the Titans. Okay. I need to look that up a little more. Oh. Era Mythology. I'm glad I'm looking this up. Okay, so how does this other person feel towards you? In mythology, the constellation era represents an altar, particularly the one where Zeus and other Greek gods swore an oath before battling the Titans. An astrology era is not one of the traditional zodiac constellations, but it is a real constellation in the southern sky associated with themes of sacrifice, oaths, and divine power. This person feels like they are willing to sacrifice, that they took an oath, that they are willing to honor. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Era is associated with the altar built by Noah after the Great Flood and with altars in the biblical story. The altar where gods first made offerings. Okay. So this person feels that this is something sacred. Okay? That relating or you, the relationship with you, is something sacred. Hidden influence. Ariadne. The story of Ariadne is that Ariadne rescued so-and-so from the labyrinth and then fell in love with them, and then they left. So the story of Ariadne, let me look it up, because that's always what I've said, but I'm finding out new things today, so. Ariadne. The mythological princess of Crete, in association with themes of abandonment, betrayal, and the journey through the labyrinth of life. Yes, so this person feels betrayed by you and abandoned by you. So there was a devotion, an oath, and then an abandonment. That's what this person is feeling. She's also linked to problem solving, inner guidance, and the ability to navigate complex situations, often depicted through her act of guiding Theseus out of the labyrinth with a thread. Her story, particularly her abandonment by Theseus and subsequent marriage to Dionysus, highlights themes of loss, resilience, and the potential for transformation and empowerment. I think this other person feels like they are transforming either way, no matter what happens. This has been transformational to them. Ends up marrying Dionysus, which is like the god of celebration. We had celebration here. Dionysus might be like equivalent to Loki in some ways. Okay, what else? Eighth house. So this person knows that you activate their shadow, knows that they feel you very deeply on a very deep level within themselves, and they also feel like there is this pressure of being friendly, of like social norms. Yeah. This person feels like this soul bond or whatever they feel, whatever oath they've taken, is not honored here because of what is in favor, what social norms and society's expectations and things like that are like overlaying what is underneath, which this person feels is a oath that was taken. this person feels like if they could just get under the surface a little bit, that this would all be relieved. Like, let's just like take the scab off, deal with it, clean it all up, and everything will be fine, right? It'll make a lot more sense after that. Like, let's alleviate the pressures of the outside world and what niceties need to be followed and all that kind of stuff, and like just get down to the nitty gritty mud of it. This person wants to roll in the mud with you. They're not afraid of getting dirty. Like, but I don't think they're gonna play dirty. You know, I think this is like a very pure intention because we have the ISIS influence here. I think that this person has a knowing that this is like a divinely guided process that is meant for healing one or both parties, and that her her role may be to help you collect some pieces. Help you collect some pieces. Yeah, I'm like, I almost got tears when I said that because we got Isis here, and Isis, the mythology of Isis was that she collected the parts of Osiris that were strewn about. Isis and Osiris are said to be the twin flames, brother and sister. We had brotherly love. Wow, I'm getting a lot of tears. We had that like philia, brotherly love. It's a love that it's not just romance. It's not lust. It's like you're my family. It's like you're my partner. It's like a bond that is feeling very deep. Yeah, the devotion, the level of devotion that this person has to this oath and contract is, and you, I think in you. And I think it's been frustrating to have the outside world even have a say in it. Like the influence of the other whatevers, right? I do think that this person suspects that it's like a love them and leave them situation, that you would come in, get help from them, and that they would be left. And that's why they consider it a sacrifice. I don't think they consider it as being a reciprocal thing. I don't think that they feel that they're going to get anything out of the situation. I think that they have a devotion that is giving, and that it's not given with an expectation. It's given with this while suspecting that there will be no reciprocation, that there will be pieces collected and given, and then abandonment. This person expects to be abandoned by you, but is still willing to offer the fulfillment of the contract. Yeah. The community may be affected by this. It's bigger than you two. It's bigger than you two. And therefore, it's like this person is devoted to doing this because it's bigger than you two. And that's why it won't shut up. That's why the call keeps coming, because it's bigger than you two. Wow. All right. Whew. Anything else here? Let's give the viewer some self-care. Self-care cards. If you are resting, it's saying, that's great. You really do need to rest. And you should do so guiltlessly. You should be giving yourself hydration, touching trees, putting your feet on bare feet on the earth, Rest. Good. You're doing that. And it's saying, like, you might be spending some time at home, we'll spend more. It's saying, give yourself more time at home. Maybe you're being asked to go into hermit mode so you can kind of spend time alone. It alone has the power to give the gift of sight to you. You alone have the power to give this gift of sight to you. And if you stay busy, if you don't spend the time with yourself at home, resting and kind of like taking this seriously, it's going to get more and more difficult. And like, your soul might have set something up where it would cause you to be alone with yourself, So, this is too much fresh air. How could that be? I think it means too many new experiences right now. It's not the time for new experiences, what you might be participating in to try to avoid this thing, right? Going for other dopamine hits, to try to avoid really settling in and sitting with yourself on this. And then keep up the changing of your beliefs. You're realizing the things that you believe and that you've been living those out, and you're realizing where you can change your beliefs in order to live in a way that you'd prefer. Be honest, it says. Give away your honesty. And then it's saying, find out more by journaling. Write down your thoughts. Even if it's a video journal, like see yourself talk, hear yourself talk, you don't have to share it with anybody. It's just like for you to see what you really think, And be brave enough to notice where you won't go. Notice where you're lying to yourself. It's on paper. No one's ever going to see it. You can burn it. You can, type it on your phone and then delete it all. You don't have to keep this. It's just like, let yourself see in the light of day the things that you've been hiding from yourself, that you've been lying to yourself about. Let yourself say them. Let yourself contemplate them and just chew them up. Let your thoughts come out to know more about your fears, where you're at, all of this, the calling itself. And giving yourself the rest is going to help you with processing and integrating all that you need to, so that you can become the version of yourself that will indulge this, because this leads to something creative. You will create something as a result of this. When a situation has been dedicated wholly to truth, peace is inevitable. So don't be scared of the truth. You know that saying. It's true. The truth shall set you free. And then they have that other saying, but first it'll piss you off. Yeah, I've been pissed off by the truth before. You know what that is? That's the ego that's really invested in protecting us. But, I chose surrender to the soul's calling because it didn't shut up and I couldn't ignore it. So that's all I know about it. All right. If this was for you, thanks for listening. If it wasn't, leave it for someone else.